It's a new era at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer going into his second year in Tuscaloosa, but a massive part of what Alabama is going to be in the future, I think, is very closely linked to Courtney Morgan, your general manager. Notorious! Telling you what, he's a name that I think a lot more people in the college football nitty-gritty have started to get familiar with. He is an absolute weapon for Alabama. Let's backtrack a little bit. Nick Saban retires. Kalen DeBoer gets hired. And everyone is like, okay, great, he can coach ball. I don't think that was a question for anyone when he got the job. The question we all had, myself included, was, well, can he recruit?
I don't understand why that's a question for Kalen DeBoer. I mean, he did take Washington deep in the play. I want to say he went to the national championship and lost to Michigan that year. But I want to say that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I don't know how that's a question. You can build a team into that caliber at Washington. I don't think recruiting is an issue for you. I don't think it's an issue. I don't see how that's a question mark, to be honest with you.
Can he go add talent at the top level the way that Saban did? Because honestly, that was a massive part of why Alabama was Alabama. The Nick Saban factor is huge because of how he was as a coach and the standards and all that. But like, how many times did we enter into a season, look at all the rosters, and it was Bama and everyone else? Why was that the case? Development, of course. The draft credibility, of course. But you got that draft credibility, kind of a chicken or the egg situation, because of the kind of raw ingredients you were adding to your roster every single year. So Saban's out of the picture. Can DeBoer keep up at that clip? Enter into the fold your general manager, Courtney Morgan, and we finish a year later here. Alabama doesn't make the playoff. Still has a top 3 class in college football. Again, I think Courtney Morgan is a huge part of that. Because we talk about the general manager position in the future of college football, and it's still something that's kind of evolving. I don't know that there's a set blueprint just yet for what it'll be in 2030. But you talk about Courtney Morgan and what he is, the phrase that comes to mind is utility player. And that's kind of what I think all the best general managers are here in modern college football right now. Can talk ball, can talk personnel, can talk roster construction, but at the same time, great recruiters, extremely relational, trusted by the head coach, and also, this is a big one, can talk NIL. Courtney Morgan is all of those things, checks all of those boxes. Going back to the personnel standpoint, being able to spot talent. Courtney Morgan was a part of the staff at Washington with Kalen DeBoer. They were on Keelan Russell early, man. Like, he was a guy who's committed to SMU, obviously, was Keelan Russell. Washington was on him when they were, again, when that staff was over there competing for a national championship. Courtney Morgan, it sounds like, was a pretty key part of that whole situation. So, obviously, Keelan Russell, now at Alabama, have to think those relationships carried over, which is another part of what Courtney Morgan brings to the table here. I think that when you talk about what Bama is here in the future, I don't want to say it's a rebrand because that feels like the wrong way to phrase it. But when Nick Saban was subtracted from the equation of what Alabama is and will be, I think the vibe around Tuscaloosa obviously changed with the Kalen DeBoer. And Courtney Morgan, I think, has contributed to the vibe of maybe adding some extra cool factor, maybe some extra player-driven kind of factor to what Alabama is. Not saying that it wasn't player-driven before, but in terms of it being a player destination. Like, you would commit to Alabama, you play for Nick Saban, and it's like, hey, you are going to go through the ringer a little bit. There's going to be an extremely high standard. You might get streamed into greatness. Kalen DeBoer operates differently. And Courtney Morgan, with how he operates on the recruiting trail, I think provides this vibe of like, hey, come to Alabama. And yeah, we're going to coach you hard. Of course, the standard is the standard. That's not changing. But when it comes to how we're going to speak to you and how we're going to try and bring the best out of you, that's going to be just a little bit different and more towards the modern college football lean, if you will, with how.
So, and I let that go for a while, but I don't believe that the Nick Saban way would have lasted too much longer. Primarily, especially as NIL evolves into more things over the next couple of years. I don't think the Nick Saban approach would have worked because you don't have dominion over the players like you used to. You don't have these kids for 2, 3, 4, 5 years now, and you control their fate. Now, if you make a kid mad, or you talk to him the wrong way, or you hurt his feelings any kind of way, he gone. He in the portal. He out of there. Kids are different nowadays. The restrictions are different nowadays. Now they don't have to go to, they could transfer anywhere now. Anywhere, anytime, as long as the portal open, I can get there. And I don't know if Nick Saban could have handled that. I think Kalen DeBoer's demeanor, although different, than Saban is also probably what you need going into this new era of not just Alabama, but college football. Like college football is going to look a lot different. I think to speak on Courtney, I think for you to be a quality GM in today's game, you have to be a very qualified, a quality evaluator of talent. And then you have to also know how to pay that. So you need to maximize whatever money they give you with the best talent you can get. So just getting any old player and just paying top dollar is not the way to do it. We saw how Ohio State did. They retained most of their core guys, and they went out and got the exact things they needed to be successful, whether that's through the portal, whether that's through high school. They went and got exactly what they needed. And they knew how much they knew what they had to pay for. They went and got exactly what they needed. And whatever GMs, whatever colleges can master that side of it, maximizing the 20, 25, whatever $30 million, you have the models. You can follow the NFL model. They're going to give you, say you got a $30 million salary cap, and you got to maximize it. So I think Kalen DeBoer is a perfect fit for what the Alabama will be in the future. You just got to give him some time, man. Give him some time.
That's going to that whole thing's going to go. A lot of ways to skin a cat, but Courtney Morgan, again, elevating, I think, the player-driven, player-centric kind of vibe here in Tuscaloosa. But here's the thing. When you look at the future of college football from a recruiting and personnel level, I think that recruiting nationally has never been more important, which also plays into what Courtney Morgan does well. You look at this most recent cycle, Alabama, it's wild to say this, they won the state of California. They had the best class when you look at all the top talent from what I could gather in the state of California. A big reason why, Courtney Morgan, the relationships on the West Coast, and no longer can you just hoard all the talent in the southeastern part of the United States and have that be the way that your roster is built. I don't think that's the future of college football. Why? Because, quite frankly, you got some new players in the SEC that are taking some talent that maybe Alabama used to, quite frankly, own those areas. Texas is a player now. Auburn's frisky. Tennessee's frisky. Georgia's still Georgia. Like, you go down the line here. There's a lot of competition within the SEC, and I think that playing field has leveled out. Also, there's, let's call a spade here, in the NIL era, everyone's has the opportunity to be armed with the resources to go into your state from somewhere else and be able to pay a big bag and maybe get that kid out of the southeastern part of the United States and go to a place like Oregon, like Ohio State, like Michigan. So the way the game is changing, I think, again, never been more important to recruit nationally. And Courtney Morgan, based on what they did this past cycle, and that entire staff did this past cycle, it's a big reason why you feel good about the future in Tuscaloosa because of what he brings to the table.
So I agree. I think NIL is the ultimate equalizer because now that's why Nick Saban and a lot of teams in the past could just hoard talent because nobody knew what they were paying. Nobody knew how much money you was leaving in a briefcase in that hotel room. Nobody knew, so nobody could compete. Now it's like it's open. It's an open market. Like, hey man, did you Nick Saban or Kalen DeBoer offer the kid $300,000? Well, I'm offering $450. And what do you think that kid? I'm going to go get that $450. You can either come up or stay where you at, but I'm gonna go get that money. So I think that's a great equalizer. Now it's even more important to, like I say, maximize the dollar. You can't just go out here just spending willy-nilly. You have to identify the talent that you need and want, and that you think can help you win you some football games. Compensate that talent, coach that talent, and then ultimately you have to retain. If you have good players, you have to retain your good players. You can't develop a kid, bring a kid in, identify a kid. He has great success with your program, and he in the portal making more money. So once you retain him, guess what you gotta do again? You gotta go back to the table, pay him some more money. You gotta pay him some more. Now you gotta up the money. Now you gotta up the ante. So, hey man, shout out to. This was a good video. This is a good topic, a good debate about Alabama. I think they are entering a new era. I think they started the new era, but I think they're finally going to step into what a Kalen DeBoer-led Alabama team will look like. I love the pickup of Kalen Russell. Maybe sit him for a year, but let him put on some weight, put on a little bit of weight. 180 is not going to cut in the SEC or any level of college football. You got to put on a little bit of weight. So I love what they're doing in Alabama. Hate it as a Georgia boy, but I love it as a college football fan. So y'all let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I'm out.